All right, so boom, the 4 year stretch that killed rap. All right, so let's see what they're talking about in this because I feel like the music and hip hop has been an up and down wave. You know, each generation, music always changes. What's popular is always going to change. So I want to see what specifically they think the 4 year stretch that killed rap is. Let's lock in.
He says, I just got a call. It should be noted, many record labels have deprioritized signing rappers. The focus is now African music and Latin music. Rappers better stop being boring and talking about the same over and over, chasing TikTok's success in comment sections. What Ebro is saying is the obvious.
Understand, TikTok has ruined everything. Because an artist know the song that blow up on TikTok is not their best song, but they start putting all their energy into that song. And it's only relevant for 5 seconds on TikTok.
All of you are unoriginal. Every one of y'all is making the same thing. It's no new ideas, no new concepts, no new sound. It's the same. It's all the same.
They using the same ad-libs, bro.
A lot of them just be posting throwaways. They be songs like they can just hold on to and do better.
Bro, Drake, Cole, and Kendrick like 40, and we have nobody in sight to even fill the gap or the mold. It looks like we just have a bunch of A-tier rappers, and it's everybody else who they just get a club hit for like a couple of months and move on.
We don't really identify with the artist no more. Like Ice will be, I'd be like, Ice will say somebody artist. I'd be like, who the fuck is that? Ice will be like, you know who he is. Ice will play 3 or 4 songs. I'd be like, oh, that's who made that? Whereas before, when we was coming up, we identified with an artist.
Now, take a guess who's falling off right now. Not a particular artist. I'm talking about the music industry.
Yeah, music's over.
It's over.
Streaming, bro.
I think it's also a lot different now because, I mean, a lot of stuff is no longer in the record label's hands. Like a lot of artists have been just independent. They can use TikTok, YouTube. They have like multiple platforms to grow their stuff. And to be fair, anything that becomes popular, y'all gotta let me know if y'all think I'm wrong in the comments. Anything that becomes popular is super duper easy to remake. And people like popular, so they're gonna go with the popular sound. Like when it was all about sad boy rap a few years ago, that was what all the rappers was doing. Then it switched to something else. Then it switched to something else. Whenever something is really massively popular and it shows massive success, when people enjoy it, they want more of it, and people start trying to produce as much as possible. And it does take away from like the originality and the creativity that could be explored. But I feel like you can make something really creative, and maybe it wouldn't be a commercial success. And if you're looking for commercial success and not like a cult following or a community based around your product, I could see how that would kill any type of music industry, not just rap. It's just I feel like was at the forefront, and everyone is like, you know, doing maybe a little too much or not enough to like prioritize what like we would want to hear.
Oh, it's all with. With you know what I mean? It's cool. I get it, but like, it's all with.
Most artists or most new artists, at least in hip hop, they're being made by TikTok. TikTok.
Bow.
Everything that goes up must come down, and hip hop is no exception to this rule. In the present day, it's extremely obvious that hip hop is a shell of its former glory. There are fewer and fewer huge records, albums aren't hitting the way they used to, and fans are losing interest. For the past 6 months, all types of videos have been uploaded talking about how the genre is dying and listing various theories for why this is happening. This isn't the first time people have felt this way about the trajectory of the genre, but this time, it really might be true. But in order to get to the root cause of the situation current hip hop is facing, we have to look at the years that have led us here. So in this video, we'll take a look at the downward spiral mainstream rap has found itself in over the past 4 years. These videos do take a lot of time to put together, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so.
Just cool stories. Make sure y'all subscribe.
Because this was the last normal year the genre had. In 2019, hip hop was in a good place. There was a wide variety of all different types of artists. Fans were engaged with everything. There were a good number of Billboard Top 10 hits, like Suge by DaBaby, Tatiana by Blueface, Ransom by Lil Tecca, Bandit by Juice WRLD and NBA YoungBoy, and the most sold record in the history of music, Old Town Road. Outside of Billboard Top 10, there were plenty of other huge records that contributed to the excitement rap had at the time, and these included songs like Shot of Flow by NLE Choppa, Act Up by the City Girls, Ballin' by DJ Mustard and Roddy Ricch, and Welcome to the Party in Dior by Pop Smoke. There was an exciting crop of new stars, including people like Lil Baby, Gunna, DaBaby, Juice WRLD, Meg Thee Stallion, Pop Smoke, Roddy Ricch, Polo G, Lil TJ, NLE Choppa, and more. And hip-hop was in an exciting space. TikTok had just started blowing up, and the success of Old Town Road had proven it could be a powerful marketing tool. Towards the end of the year, the genre had experienced a tragedy when Juice WRLD lost his life at the young age of 21. But besides this, 2019 was an overall good year.
Look, I also feel like once COVID hit in 2020 and TikTok pulled up and everything was about short videos and fast entertainment and things that you could only find online, I think the attention economy really fucked up a lot of things. Because now I know there's people who can't even watch a 20-minute video. Like if you can't pack everything into a 5-minute segment with fast-paced cuts and fast edits and fast memes and jam it in there, like boom, 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 jump, shake, a lot of people can't make it through like the content in the video. And a lot of these newer songs barely are longer than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I think that the attention economy really did screw up rap music by a lot. Like there's no other way to really put it in my opinion.
First turn nigga from the hood, they curious. Four and card about 5 and jury. I get the comments with number this period. I got your B on one put on the mirror.
2020 started off regular. The Box by Roddy Ricch saw crazy success and dominated the charts early on. In February, tragedy struck when Pop Smoke lost his life in a Cali Airbnb at the young age of 20. About a week
Pop
after
Smoke
this,
was only 20?
he dropped
Damn.
My Turn, which did numbers, and to this day is probably his best album ever. Shortly after My Turn, Uzi shocked everybody and surprise dropped his long-awaited album, Eternal Atake, which did well, but left some fans disappointed and was the beginning of people wanting the quote-unquote old Uzi back. Eternal Atake was an early example of a new trend. Labels were starting to implement a new strategy where they had artists drop an album, then 2 weeks later release a deluxe album with an entire album worth of new songs.
I'm not gonna lie to you, deluxe albums are supposed to be special. Like when someone releases a deluxe album, there should be hits on there that you wouldn't even be able to fathom that they made. Not just the throwaway songs or the leftover songs that they could put on there to add more stream time. But that's what I'm saying. I really just think it's the fact that the internet makes everything so compact and fast paced that like they want to run those numbers up to get their revenue. Because at the end of the day, these record labels and these people are businesses. Even as an individual, they're still a business. So they're trying to find the way to optimize and prioritize getting the stuff out and making the best money that they can. Even though some of these artists really are true artists and they try to make the best product they can. And like in Uzi's case, I feel like each one of his albums, he's always trying to do something different. He's always trying to bring a new style, a new sauce, a new flavor. There's nothing wrong with that. But the record labels, I feel like, ultimately impact a lot of the decisions that people make. And it just really ruins a lot of fans' enjoyment and experiences during that.
Maximize the streams. Since 2017, streaming had become the #1 source of label revenue, and as the years passed, they had continued to try to figure out how to maximize the new model. Shortly after Eternal Atake, the whole world was put on standstill when COVID hit, forcing everyone into quarantine. Quarantine was a weird time for everyone, especially rappers who now found themselves stuck at home, unable to do shows. Some people took advantage of the opportunity to do new things with the large audience stuck inside. Tory Lanez started a regular IG live stream that he called Quarantine Radio, and Swizz Beatz and Timbaland started Versus, a head-to-head competition between hip-hop and R&B artists that started on Facebook and IG Live, and later transitioned to real venues. As far as the actual music release, albums from some of the biggest rappers during quarantine included Blame It On Baby by DaBaby, Wanna by Gunna, The GOAT by Polo G, High Off Life by Future, and Sugar by Meg Thee Stallion. Similarly to 2019, 2020 also had a lot of hits.
It's a good year for music, for rap.
Riding off the success of My Turn, had two of the biggest records of 2020 with We Paid featuring 42 Dugg and The Bigger Picture. Life Is Good by Future and Drake and Rockstar by DaBaby and Roddy Ricch were also Billboard Top 10 hits. And the most talked about and controversy generating record of the year, WAP by Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B, also made a ton of noise.
That song had every club in Korea going crazy. Because I was in Korea in 2020. All these songs that they just listed, any bar you went into, any club you went into, that Americans would go to, or like the Koreans that like hip hop, these songs were blasted everywhere. Like everywhere. Revenue generating music at a time where people really couldn't be outside. And yeah, I'm saying bars and clubs and it's not like actual, but it's like all the restaurants, since you could dine in, would always play music. So people could have music and drinks and still feel like they had an experience, like once COVID like calmed down.
In 2020, Meg's name was also hot from a situation that occurred with her and Tory Lanez, as well as two other people, where she was shot in the foot. She said that Tory was responsible, and Tory said he wasn't, and the situation got tons of media coverage and was one of the biggest topics of that entire year. From 2019 to 2020, TikTok's influence had continued to grow, and the platform was now a legitimate new path to having a hot record. New artists were popping on the regular, and the term TikTok rapper was starting to become a thing. More established artists were also taking advantage of the new platform to blow their songs up as well. Unfortunately, the rise of TikTok also came with negative side effects. And as a result of the way content was consumed, rappers began making songs shorter and more repetitive in an effort to...
Look, bro. I'm telling y'all. I literally said this. I literally said it, bro. It's that simple. Like, everything became shorter. People's attention spans are smaller. Of course, it's going to be hard to enjoy the music because the song's a minute and 30 seconds. Hook, verse, hook, shoulders, dance, lean, hook, verse. Song's over. Next song, shoulders, hook, lean, gone. That's like it. That's what you get in a lot of these songs. So, of course, it's going to be like that.
To potentially get TikTokers to make viral challenges to their song. Drake was one of the first big artists to be called out for this when he dropped Toosie Slide. In late 2020, King Von lost his life in an altercation with Quando Rondo in Atlanta, and Playboi Carti dropped Whole Lotta Red, a long-awaited album that received
Whole Lotta Red was fire.
Reviews.
That's a
one
good
of
album.
The more unexpected trends of 2020 was the extreme rate that podcasts began growing in popularity. Up into 2020, there were already a few established podcasts like the JBP and Drink Champs, but a whole new wave of pods joined in the period between 2019 and 2020, including shows like $1 Million Worth of Game, Big Facts, and the Expeditiously podcast. In 2020, the podcast space began taking off as more and more people began listening to podcasts, and more rappers, athletes, and other types of celebrities began starting new ones. 2020 was unorthodox, but definitely not a bad year for rap. But 2021 would be the first major indicator that things were slowing down.
This song already was turned, but here's a bell. Every night I know it's rich as hell.
Hold on now. Don't diss Yeet. Yeet got some entertaining music. His music is entertaining. So I don't want to hear nothing in the comments about Yeet. His music is entertaining, and that's all we're gonna say about it.
In early 2021, one name started popping up everywhere. Pooh Shiesty had begun buzzing in late 2020 off his hit record Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk. By 2021, this record was everywhere, and Shiesty was one of rap's biggest up-and-coming stars. Another emerging artist during this time was Coi Leray, who was buzzing off of her hit record, No More Parties, as well as the fact that she was an easy punching bag for internet trolls. Early 2021 also saw a deadly beef spilling over into rap.
Yeah, this song was fire.
Spinner Bins, Wappa with the Chopper, Fast Money Goon, released a song called Blue Eye Smoke, dissing a ton of their deceased ops on a catchy pop sample. A combination that led to the song going crazy, racking up tens of millions of views and becoming a viral hit. Early 2021 had a decent amount of motion, but as the year progressed, an alarming trend began to emerge. Throughout the year, plenty of albums dropped from the biggest artists in the game, but the music wasn't hitting the same and fans weren't receptive to it. Polo G dropped Hall of Fame, Migos dropped Culture 3, and Roddy Ricch dropped Live Life Fast, but all of these projects were labeled as mid by the majority of listeners. Lil Baby and Lil Durk's collab album, Voice of the Heroes, and J. Cole's mixtape, The Off Season, were received slightly better, but Tyler, the Creator, probably had the best project of the year with
Yeah,
Call
he
Me If
did.
You Get Lost.
Easily.
A great
He
body
did.
of music that was received well by fans.
Because he's always doing
In
something
July,
different and new.
The Baby went to Rolling Loud and did this.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS,
Stupid. Stupid. Stupid.
Fellas, lights up. Fellas, if you ain't sucking in the parking lot, put yourself on.
Stupid. Stupid.
He got the
Stupid.
usual cancel culture treatment, including a bunch of blog posts and angry tweets. But things went a step further than usual, and festivals began removing him from their lineups, affecting his money. From summer to fall of 2021, one of the biggest storylines in hip hop for the entire year began to develop. Both Drake and Kanye announced
All I see is two goats right here on my screen right now. If y'all got a problem with that, we could get to boxing in the comments too easy.
they were dropping albums and then began escalating their beef. Kanye built the hype around Donda, doing listening events in several cities throughout the summer before dropping the album August 29th. Drake followed, dropping Certified Lover Boy a week later. Despite the hype around these projects, most people ended up coming to the conclusion that both albums were underwhelming, just like
They're
most of the other
incorrect.
music coming
They're
out
incorrect.
in 2021.
Donda was
The
a
trend
hit.
of TikTok popularized songs continued.
Donda was a
Things were
hit.
so easy that even Soulja Boy, who hadn't been relevant for anything related to his music in over a decade, popped out with not just one, but two viral TikTok hits. The easy virality on TikTok was allowing tons of new artists to blow up on a regular basis, but because there were so many, this meant that nothing was really sticking. There was just a rotating window giving countless artists 5 seconds of fame, then moving on to the next. So, a unique situation was developing where, despite it being easier than ever for songs to blow up, there were fewer and fewer new artists with the same excitement The Baby, NLE Choppa, Pop Smoke, and others had just a few years prior. Given the fact that no new artists were blowing up on a major scale, and none of the existing artists were delivering the way they did in the past, the charts reflected that mainstream hip-hop was in a lull, with Billboard Top 10 hits experiencing a significant decline from the previous year.
I could see that being a
Mainstream
thing,
hip-hop
bro.
was clearly
Not enough
declining,
change.
But there was one
Not
artist
enough
that would
change.
cut through the TikTok noise and blow up on a huge scale. In late summer, an artist called Yeet started buzzing off a song called Sorry About That went crazy on TikTok. Then he followed this up with an even bigger one called Get Busy. With these viral hits, he was
Yes,
arguably
sir.
the biggest new artist of 2021, even receiving a cosign from Drake. Yeet was part of a new wave in a subgenre referred to as rage. And other artists like King Carson, Can, and Destroy Lonely
Yes,
were
sir.
all new artists in this lane, blowing up this same year, seeing more traction than a typical artist.
Doing their own thing. That's
Also,
why they was doing their
up
own
in
thing,
New
bro.
York, Bronx Drill was blowing up with artists like K-Flock, B-Love, and
Yeah.
B-Thing doing numbers leading the underground scene. So overall, 2021 was a bad year for the mainstream, but it was good for a few underground niches. 2021 was also good for another form of entertainment that was just starting to touch the hip-hop world. Streaming had been a thing for years, but it was something.
No. Cap. Aiden Ross was already streaming with rappers and Tory Lanez and all them, and I think he was doing it in like 2020. 2019, 2020. I'm pretty sure. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was already locked into that realm.
Something mainly for gamers. However, in 2021, people like Kai Cenat, Duke Dennis, Aiden Ross, Your Age, and Bruce Drop 'Em Off popularized streaming with a different demographic that aligned more with the audience.
Okay,
of
that's
hip-hop
true.
consumers.
Yeah, they did do that.
With
They
the
did do that
decline
for
of
sure.
hip-hop, a lot of kids and teenagers who in previous years would have been hardcore rap fans were now turning to streamers as their primary source of entertainment and looking up to streamers the way kids in the past looked up to rappers. Aiden Ross's streams ended up getting so big that through 2021, he had a lot of the biggest
maybe it was
rappers
2021.
out lining up to come on and promote their music.
Okay, yeah,
on
it was
the platform.
2021. I'm trolling y'all.
Going into 2022, hip-hop's mainstream drought would continue.
Pushing P. Aaron know it.
Gunna would start the year off strong, dropping Diaz Forever, a solid project with the breakout hit, Pushin' P. It was a good project, but an example of how streaming had been continuing to affect the length of albums. Diaz Forever was 20 songs long by itself with no deluxe included. The new
That's
length
fire,
of
though.
albums meant that mediocre songs that wouldn't have made the cut in previous years were slipping through the cracks for the sheer purpose of increasing streaming time. Lil Durk's 7220 album was a perfect example of this, containing 31 songs in total, 17 in the original, and 4.
I'm gonna be real. I'm not listening to 31 Lil Durk songs. That's not happening.
14 additional ones on the deluxe version. In April, Pooh Shiesty was sentenced to 5 years, a deal that wasn't bad considering the possible time he could have received, but still meant hip-hop would be losing one of its newest stars early into his career. Then in May, the whole hip-hop world was caught by surprise when Young Thug, Gunna, and 26 other members of YSL were indicted in a RICO case that stretched back almost a decade. This same month, Kendrick returned from a 5-year hiatus.
Stay humble under
dropping
God.
Mr. Morale, an album which was successful, but not at the level of his previous albums. Future also dropped I Never Liked You, an album which saw a large amount of success,
Sensational.
with the hit single Wait For You going #1 on Billboard. 2022 also saw the rise of a few new faces. In July, a Memphis artist called Glorilla blew up off a song called F&F.
I feel like she
Then,
fell off
in
quick
late
though,
summer,
huh?
a song called Munch by an artist named Ice Spice started blowing
Thought I
up
would
on
feel you.
TikTok. It was initially taken as a joke, but it grew on people, and Ice Spice continued dropping and growing her popularity. In late 2022, Kanye went on his most career-damaging rampage ever, which all started with the picture he took of Candace Owens wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirt. After this, he made an appearance on Drink Champs, where he said that George Floyd OD'd on fentanyl and announced that he had problems with a group of people he referred to as the Jewish higher-ups. He received strong backlash, but being Kanye, he doubled down on his stance and basically went on a press run defending his comments and continuing to make more and more controversial statements that the media was having a field day reporting on. Eventually, things would end up getting to the point where he was dropped from his Adidas deal. Meanwhile, in late 2022 on the music scene, Lil Baby dropped It's Only Me, his first solo album since My Turn. And the album had an underwhelming response. And was yet
It's
another
first time
example of an album optimized for streaming instead of quality. In December, Drake and 21 Savage teamed up to drop a collab tape titled Her Loss, which ended up being a very successful release. Also in December, Gunna accepted a plea deal and came home, and video came out about what he had admitted to get this deal.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped the vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein high and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Some people argued it was in a gray area that wasn't technically snitching, but the majority of hip hop labeled him a rapper.
I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of tough because it's like he didn't really say whose gun it was, but he did say that they are. He agreed that they were a gang and a record label that has committed crimes. So I mean, it is snitching, but then it's like it's not. I don't know.
And most of his former rapper friends unfollowed him and distanced themselves, the most notable being Lil Baby. The Gunna situation was one of the biggest things to happen in hip-hop that year, and this was more evidence of the genre's decline in popularity. Meanwhile, the growing appetite for podcasts and streaming continued, with the biggest podcasts and streamers growing at a crazy rate. In 2022, Kai Cenat took the place of Adin Ross when it came to having the biggest rappers on his stream, bringing people like Blueface and Krishan Rock, Ice Spice, Lil Baby, and 21 Savage. In 2023, mainstream rap slump became extremely obvious. Very few artists even dropped music. The first notable albums didn't come until summer. In June, Uzi returned from a 3-year hiatus and dropped the Pink Tape, another album with way too many songs that came and went like the majority of other albums from the previous 2 years. This same month, Gunna released The Gift and the Curse, his first album since he told and
That
came
shit was
home.
fire.
In order to keep the fans on his side, he had to drop a banger, and this was exactly what he did, delivering a quality album with no features. In July, Travis Scott dropped his long-awaited album Utopia, which
Yeah,
was
you said he was
extremely
hit.
successful, doing 500,000 units the first week. Besides A Gift and a Curse and Utopia, most of 2023's mainstream albums were mediocre, and projects like Almost Healed by Lil Durk, Hard to Love by Moneybagg Yo, and Set It Off by Offset came and went. 2023 also didn't see any new artists going nearly as viral as Ice Spice, Gorilla, Yeat, or Pooh Shiesty did in 2022 and 2021. The most viral new artist of 2023 was Sexy Red, who began trending towards the later half of the year. By this point, it was undeniable that things were definitely in a slump for the genre, and YouTube channels began popping out left and right, talking about how hip-hop was dying and speculating.
The thing is, though, I feel like you can't say hip hop is dying and blame the artists. You have to think about the people they are making the music for. A lot of people don't want to hear the same stuff that was from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. They want to hear stuff like this. So even if the albums, they call the albums mid, they still be listening to them. They still play them. They still follow these people on social media. They still be waiting for the album to come out. So it's like interesting to like see people say hip hop is dying.
The true reason behind it. The answer can be seen by looking at the last 4 years. There's no one specific reason, and a variety of factors have contributed to the decline. Up-and-coming stars got locked up or passed. Many artists began making music focusing on streaming numbers or TikTok success instead of quality music. There wasn't much innovation to the mainstream sound, and as a result, things began to feel like the majority of producers were making the same beat over and over, and rappers were making the same song again and again.
Yeah,
The
I can
trendy
agree.
15-second clip virality of TikTok made it harder for artists to build an actual fan base, and as a result, more artists experience the trend of having 5 seconds of their song blow up for a couple of weeks and then being irrelevant in a matter of months. And as a result of all the music being cycled through on a regular basis, artists not making music optimized for social media struggle to cut through all the noise. All of this turned into fans losing interest in rap music. And while hip-hop music has been declining, podcasts and live streaming have been skyrocketing, taking up the attention formerly reserved for music. Streamers are getting
I don't know if I would completely agree with that though, because I feel like you could watch a stream while listening to your music and still be participating in the chat and gaming. Like, you can do multiple things at once. So I don't know necessarily if that's the case, but again, the attention economy is fucked. So
NBA-sized contracts and building fan bases that match the loyalty of artists like XXXTentacion and NBA Youngboy. The youth has always fueled hip-hop, but these days they're more interested in watching Twitch and Kick. This is definitely not the end of hip-hop, but it may be the end of its chokehold on the mainstream. And we may never see hip-hop regain the chokehold it's had on pop culture over the past decade or so. The genre's had a great run, but nothing lasts forever.
I don't think that's going to be true. I really think that it may be in a bad place now, but there's going to be some artists that come out and make some stuff that's going to be really, really good. Like, that's going to catapult it back and refresh the energy. Because that's what it needs. It needs an energy refresh. Like, once the right person gets in there and shakes things up and comes up with a style that feels unique to them, it's going to branch off to something new. But the attention economy, that's just going to be wrecked no matter what. But I appreciate you guys if you made it to the end of the video. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And you already know what it is. See you next time.